If you're a highly sensitive entrepreneur like myself, you may have noticed something interesting about doing your marketing. You might have a very clear sense of the work that you're here to do, and you really care deeply about the impact that it has on the people that you talk to. And yet, when it comes to marketing your work, something feels really uncertain and it becomes something that's inconsistent. And it's not because you don't believe in what you've got to or what to say or what your offer is. Often it's because the way that marketing is taught, it just doesn't reflect how sensitive and intuitive people actually operate. So in this video, I want to talk about why that happens and how marketing can begin to feel much more natural when your energy, your message, and your business structure all come into alignment. So many of the people that I work with identify themselves as highly sensitive people. And highly sensitive people tend to notice all the little subtle things. They pick up on like emotional nuance, and they often feel a strong sense of purpose in the work that they're drawn to do. And they usually care really deeply about the people that they support. Not that everyone doesn't, but this is on a different kind of level because this sensitivity brings with it the ability to notice the energy of the marketing spaces around you really clearly. And some marketing approaches just don't feel right. Okay, they can feel pushy or coercive, and you feel disconnected from that deeper reason of why you've started the business in the first place. And that often happens when, you're moving between two different worlds. Okay, the world of energy, intuition, and alignment, and the world of marketing strategy and business structure. Very difficult to straddle both. But both of these worlds hold really important pieces of the puzzle, though. Energy gives you direction, and strategy gives you structure. And action, which sits with both of those, allows that work to go ahead and move forward into the world. So when those three elements start supporting one another, by creating them in the right way, something starts to settle down within you. And the marketing becomes less about forcing yourself to do it and more about expressing your work really clearly and succinctly. There have been several moments in my own business where something very like clear appeared internally, not as a detailed plan, but more like a quiet sense of direction. One moment that really stands out happened to me a little while ago when I decided that I wanted to invest in a coaching program to develop a modality that I felt really strongly drawn to integrate into my practice. At the time, I didn't have the money fully set aside to do it, but what I did have was this strong sense that this work mattered a lot and that I really wanted to do it. I made a solid commitment in that moment that I wanted to move ahead. And within a really short period of time, something really interesting happened. I had a piece of equipment for sale, and it was purchased almost immediately after I made the decision, which was most interesting. That covered a large proportion of the cost of the course. And the following day, an old client contacted me and decided that they wanted to start working with me again. So, together, those two things covered the full investment. But what stayed with me afterwards wasn't how the money showed up, it was the experience of recognizing that direction internally, committing to it, and then watching the path begin to open like step by step. And many entrepreneurs experience moments like this, that there's this quiet internal knowing that appears and a decision is made. And then the small steps start to connect and they become the path, right? So, one of the things that really fascinates me about this kind of work is just how far the impact is going to travel. When you support one person in a really meaningful way, the effect rarely stops with that one individual. A client carries that shift they experienced into their life and into their relationships and into their work. And that influences sort of, it starts to move outward further. Like if you imagine it from above, it begins to look like a little network of lights, spreading across a landscape. You know, when you see the earth from above and it's like all lit up at night. But each light represents a person whose life has been touched in some way. Many of those lights are connecting back to one conversation or moment of support that that person received. So, highly sensitive people often feel this ripple effect really strongly, and they sense that the work that they offer has meaning just beyond that one interaction. And a business becomes the structure that allows that ripple to continue to expand. So, over the years, I've begun noticing something that's really interesting while working with different types of people is that when certain foundations in their business are really clear, their marketing becomes much easier to do. The foundations, when they're really uncertain, even if you've got good strategies, become more difficult to sustain. So these observations eventually became a framework that I now teach called the Seven Energetic Foundations of Conscious Marketing. So the foundations are vision, inner knowing, authentic voice, heart-led connection, leadership, creative expression, and grounded business structure. And each foundation supports a different part of building a business. Like vision brings clarity to the direction. Inner knowing strengthens the trust that you have in your decisions. Your authentic voice helps you to communicate your work more naturally. And your heart-led connection helps the right people to recognize themselves in what you offer. Leadership strengthens the way that you show up in your work, and your creative expression allows your ideas to move out into the world. And that grounded business structure supports the growth of the business itself. And when all of those foundations are in alignment, marketing becomes a natural extension of that work. Okay. And something else I've noticed about highly sensitive people is that pace matters. So ideas need time to settle in, and you get more clarity through reflection and conversation. And many people will benefit from a rhythm that allows them to have space, but still brings about momentum, right? When the process moves at a steady pace, entrepreneurs feel that they move much further than they expected, but it's not because they're being pressured or pushed. It's because the alignment is there, the energy is right, and the steps are consistent. Having a plan matters so much when you are beginning your marketing. So, if you resonate with any of this, and if this feels like it brings a sense of purpose in your work, and you're trying to find a way to translate that into clear messaging and really grounded marketing, you're not alone. Like many people are navigating that exact journey. And I actually created a short quiz that explores how different energetic archetypes show up in your marketing. So people find it really helpful when they recognize their natural strengths. And they also find it really helpful to know where they can stretch a little bit and find a place where they can develop and grow. So what I find is that most people have one or two different types of archetypes for the energy they bring to their marketing. And you can recognize your main strength and then find places of growth in your subsequent strength. So if you want to explore that more, there's a link in the description below that you can take that quiz. And if this conversation actually does resonate with you, I'd love to hear what your experience of this is as well. Like what led you to the work that you actually do out in the world? So if you want to explore your energy marketing type, the quiz link is below.